Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Athlete Recruitment Code. Today, I'm joined by three brothers and super forces to be reckoned on and off the field: Mike, John Paul, and Jacob. They started Triad NIL agency, where they are on the frontier of NIL representation and focus on holistic development for student athletes. Welcome on, and I'd love for you guys to share a little bit more about the origin of Triad and your guys' mission.
So the idea for Triad actually started last year when I was in the portal. So last December, I was being reached out to agent by some agents on Instagram, Twitter, and mostly they were just telling me empty promises about how much that they could get me if I hopped in the portal, and they're throwing out numbers of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and coming from our humble beginnings and not really having much, that was enticing. So I decided the best course would be to hop in the portal and weigh my options. And after I did, I didn't get any help from any of the agents that reached out to me, even the ones that I signed with. Really just signed me to post me on their social medias and just say that they had another guy in their agency. And so from our experience, we decided that there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way of helping these athletes. Most of these agents were charging outrageous prices of anywhere from 10 to 30%. So, with our older brother Jacob having been in the NFL and his experience with NFL agents, we decided we should start an NIL agency that is NFL style, charges 3% to college athletes, and we can guide them through the portal process with our experience and over 20 years of connections in college football. That would be the best way to help out these athletes, guide them, especially in this new era that we're getting into. So that was where the vision came from. And once I finished up this December in at Louisville, we decided that we should go ahead and give it a shot and help out some guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome, especially all your guys' experience and Jacob having experience with the NFL and being able now to like take these insights and provide them to like student athletes. What does that mean? And like what unique perspective do you have in terms of the ecosystem?
Yeah, it definitely is a unique perspective coming from the NFL side. When I graduated from Dartmouth in 2016, I got a call from the Green Bay Packers, and so I went from one cold place to an even colder place. At that level, they're paying you. And 10 years ago, I hate to feel old to say this, but college sports looked completely different. There was no transfer portal in 2016. There was no NIL payments. There was no revenue sharing. And in 10 short years, the whole ecosystem has changed. So what we're doing at Triad is we're leading with education. We're trying to educate athletes, parents, coaches on what all those terms look like and what changes are constantly evolving. Seems like every single portal cycle, Paul and Michael can speak to this after being in the portal the past couple years. Things do not stay the same. They constantly change. So that's the goal of Triad is to provide education again to three different parties, right? The coaches, the players, and the parents. Because we believe an informed athlete is going to be able to make better life choices, better decisions on where to spend the next 4 years, hopefully.
Totally. That's fantastic. I think there's so many things that go into NIL and like those opportunities as well. But even like, let's just start with like what NIL like actually is and what it's not. So do you guys mind like breaking down like what is NIL for those parents and student athletes who are listening to this so that they get a better understanding moving forward for the rest of our conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. I can kind of speak on that. So NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. It deems that anything that is used from your self image, your likeness, anything like that from a college perspective, you get compensated on that. So before about 5 years ago, there was no NIL. You could not make money from that. So nowadays, there's kind of two pots and buckets to look at what NIL is. There is the NIL space where you can do an ad. They can use your name and likeness. Take, for example, Texas Tech, and you sign with Adidas. or Patrick Mahomes' company, you can use yourself in one of those revenue shares, and the other bucket is the revenue share within the TV contract. So colleges nowadays have about a budget of around $20 million. This is for the Power Four conferences. We're talking the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and SEC. So these Power Four conferences get an allotment from the TV rights, from everything collected from their games, and it's split up between football and basketball. So football teams usually out of that 20 million take about 14 to 17 million, and then the other piece of the pie tends to go to some of the other sports like volleyball, men's basketball, girls basketball, stuff like that.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And so I guess like right now, because you guys are dealing with athletes signing these contracts, thinking about NIL, entering the transfer portal, like all this, there's a bunch of layers that make this, topic very complex. But what do people misunderstand about NIL, potentially at like even the high school level before they even get to college? Is there anything that you guys are having these conversations with athletes and you wish to like explain to the general population?
I would probably say that the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is just the fact that most of these kids don't realize how sort of the dynamic has shifted. So it's become more player friendly, but it's more so the big recruits are the ones who are benefiting the most. With the NIL, I would say a lot of people misunderstand that it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the changes in the transfer portal, all these rules. It's a change in the NIL and rev sharing. The fact that in NIL there used to be the collectives, so a school would get a collective, and that is how they would, fundraise through the donors, through the boosters, and they build up this collective, and that they would pay out the players through the NIL collective. So at Louisville, we had the 502 Circle Collective, and that's how the Louisville athletes used to get compensated for NIL. Well, within the past year, that has all changed. The NCAA is going away from these collectives, and they're going more so to the revenue sharing that John Paul is speaking of with these contracts. So even in these minor details like that, they may be like in recruiting, like, oh, I heard that you have a collective, or what's this about rev sharing? It's now players are getting paid directly from the school, so they're not getting paid from a third party collective or any of their sponsors. They're getting paid directly through the school and whoever the school has contracts with. So at Louisville, that was Planet Fitness. They had deals with local pizza shops. And if a player signs a contract for revenue sharing, they're obligated to do advertisements with anybody who sponsors the school. So I think that's something that people should be informed of.
Yeah, that's amazing. Especially those small nuances, I feel like can be super important to understand before you get there. And then you're like asking questions like, what's going on? Where am I getting my money, etc. I think there's a lot of value in that. I think one important thing while we stay on this topic is like, what happens to these athletes? Like a lot of times we see like these $1 million NIL deals and people getting these crazy sponsorships. And like people now are saying like, okay, that's what I want to do. Like, how can I get my bag? So what happens when like these athletes ultimately start chasing these like NIL deals before opportunities to actually just like go play at a school? Because I feel like that's something that's in the conversation today a lot is like, okay, now athletics in college is just like, how can I make my money rather than how can I go get my education? How can I develop at a university and play?
Yeah, I think to make those decisions, Eli, you have to have a team of people you trust, right? And when I was in college and I was going to the NFL, I had to find a trusted advisor to walk me through, hey, what is the contracts? How does this look like? What's the best practice going into this? And now families and high school athletes are forced to do that now in high school, going into the college model, whereas before that didn't exist. So that's what I would recommend to people is, do you have is your advisor educating you well? Are they up to date on all the latest changes? Because every single year things are changing. Michael just talked about before it was collectives, now it's revenue sharing, now there's a salary cap, now any deals over $600 with NIL have to go to a clearinghouse. And these aren't the only changes that are going to be made. Every single year you're going to have new changes. But if you foundationally have a team that is focused on educating you and your family. Let's say you have a little brother, like I have two little brothers. Within 5, 10 years, year to year, it's going to change. But do you have a team in place that's going to educate you on those changes?
Yeah, that's super powerful. I think one of the huge things you just said is like education. These contracts aren't like very easy to digest, and there's probably a lot of nuances. And then also, where you guys are competing with agency to agency, they have different terms. So, like, what does that look like? Like, when people, are picking these different contracts and picking different agents for representation, they're not all the same, I'm assuming. Can you guys give a little perspective on that?
Yeah, we definitely can. So, our agency, we charge 3%, which is the max that they have in the NFL. Currently, college agency is unregulated, so agents can charge as much or as little as they want. So, we modeled our agency based upon the NFL prospects. Additionally, all three of us went to the Ivy League. We've been in the transfer portal 5+ years between the brothers. We've played, almost 20 years of college football combined. We have all these connections. So that's a main difference and driver about our model, our agency at Triad, is that we've been in your shoes. We played football. We played at the highest level. And we really know what it's like to go through this process. And we want to walk right alongside you and give you the most up to date information, educate you so that ultimately you can make the best decision for yourself. I've heard so many horror stories right now in college football about how agents are getting paid by schools to not tell their client that they got offered by Kentucky or Louisville or this or that, right? And then on top of that, there's schools out there that are giving agents kind of a kickback if they push their kid towards a certain school, which ethically at Triad we are not about. We will never do that. We don't lie to kids. That's not something that we find is good business practice. But there is a lot of shady street agents that will just try to turn a quick buck. For us, investing in the future, being around the game. I have a nephew. Jacob has a son, and I can't imagine somebody taking advantage of my nephew or my son. That's just something we don't do at Triad.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially the fact of like the unregulation. You just have all these different agents and agencies like kind of doing their own thing. So it's cool that you guys, are putting the education first, and also the ethical side of it as well. It's like, hey, how if I was in their shoes, which I was, like, how can I give those guys the same opportunities that I wish I had? That's awesome. I guess we can kind of move on to one of the next topics today that I wanted to get all the nuggets of gold from you guys, which is the recruiting decisions that quietly shape NIL potential. A lot of people who are going to be like listening to this, maybe they're parents of student athletes or student athletes themselves who are looking to get recruited. How can someone in high school right now like set themselves up for opportunities before they even get to college? And I know it's very easy when we look at like the upper echelon, like the top 1% of like recruits, how many opportunities they have with NIL. But for those who aren't in that position, should they even be thinking about NIL or should they not? Like, how should they go about that situation?
So, so in my opinion, I played with a couple quarterbacks in the NFL that were junior college guys. They had no offers coming out of high school. So Aaron Rodgers, amazing quarterback, first rounder. He went to junior college first, and then it handled itself because he loved football and he worked on his craft continuously. Josh Allen's another example, California kid, went to a JUCO as well. Then Wyoming found him and he ended up making it to the NFL. I think if you get focused on the money and the stars and the status, you miss the point of the love of the game and going to practice every single day to get 1, 2% better. If you're doing those things right, then the NIL, the money side of things will take care of itself. But if you're doing things for the wrong reason, then the outcome's not going to be good. So I think that's what having a team of guys that have played, who have been in those locker rooms, have played with some of these guys at the highest level, the quarterbacks that are winning MVPs year in, year out. Those are the guys, and that's the perspective we can bring to our athletes and help just educate them on here's where our focus should be and here's where it shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And like within like the athlete recruitment code, we, have this foundation that we believe in, which is like the recruitment profile is founded on three different pillars. One is your athletics, one's your academics, and the last one's your character. And I think the character one's interesting, especially for this discussion, because how much do coaches or like these universities and stuff care about like your character, and what does that give you in terms of levels of opportunities with NIL? Because it's not just like the tangible, like here's your grades, here's like your 40-yard dash, here's like here's your score, here's how fast you can swim. Like the character is the one which is a little bit more subjective rather than objective. But how can that maybe be a lever for NIL opportunities in the future for players who you guys are having conversations with?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think when I was going through the draft process, trying to make it to the NFL and got an opportunity with the Cowboys, these coaches, they were so minute and they asked everyone in the building what type of person you were, right? So they asked the person who did the equipment, right? Your strength coach, the nutritionist, everyone in the medical room, right? So they're going to get a well-rounded picture of who you are as a player before they invest something in you. So to transition that kind of to NIL and high school athletes nowadays, because these colleges are making such a big investment, not only for your future, for your scholarship, but they're giving millions of dollars to prospective freshmen coming out, that they're going to do the same due diligence, right? They're going to ask, okay, your math teacher, like how was he in class? How did he treat his mom, his parents? They're going to get every perspective they can because this is a big investment for these universities nowadays with NIL.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love how you can kind of see how it started at the NFL, like all these things to going into like finding out if this person is going to be a good fit for the team is now trickling down into like the college environment. And so that's also a powerful point. Can you guys give recommendations maybe for like first impressions and visits, like official visits, like when you're visiting a campus, how important is that? Because of not just like who you are as a recruit, all the numbers on paper, but when you're going to a school, how can that even like increase your NIL opportunities just by the first impression that you're, creating at a school?
Yeah, I would definitely say that once these coaches get you on campus, that they can pick up pretty quickly how you act and behave, and they've gotten into this profession, and they've got at least a couple guys on the staff who are really good at reading people and talking to parents and reaching out and seeing your character before you even step on campus. But when you do get to these visits, it's very important to be respectful and get there and sort of show interest, because in the new day and age of college football, of getting to these visits is a huge step, and it is a privilege. One of the things that we're hearing is, just be grateful for the opportunity, because some recruits are now charging schools to go on some of these visits. So to definitely even go is a privilege, but it's all changed so much. But to have a team of guys who have been through it, who have those 20 years of college connections, and bringing your agent on a visit too is something that's huge as well. And coaches can see that, and that matters to them. So, to have a team of guys that can go with you on a visit and sort of guide you through the process of what that should look like, the questions that not only you should be expecting, but the questions that you should be asking coaching staffs as well. So it's a two-way street. It's not just, you're going to get quizzed the whole time and you're going to get tested, but also it's a big decision and it's your decision. So you should have a team there that is recommending the questions that you ask and ultimately what's important for you and what you're looking for in a school.
Yeah, Mike, a lot has changed, but a lot has also stayed the same. So I played with a guy, Johnny Manziel, and character-wise, I think he's a good example of maybe what to learn from and what to do better. He'll tell you the same thing nowadays, but when I played with him, he was probably in the middle of that phase, like doing a lot of alcohol and drugs and smoking cigarettes in the locker room even, right? And all those things affect your performance on the field. In the NFL, you're making money based on your body as a student athlete. You're getting paid NIL. You're getting paid your way through college based on your performance. So your character, your faith, like who you are as a person, ultimately defines like what you put into your body and whether you're out partying late and traveling all over or whether you're focused on the football, like we talked about earlier. And that's what we recommend. We actually won't take clients who don't pass that character test either. So I think that college coaches will tell you the same thing.
That's super powerful. And you kind of walking me through that story kind of remind me of like Indiana football this year. I'm sure that you guys are all like in the loop with that, but like they're talking about all these guys fitting into the program, knowing their role, being like hungry guys. These guys maybe weren't recruited or had all these stars and stuff too, but they fit the identity that they were all looking for. And not only did that lead them to like a college championship, now like these guys are like the cream of the crop. Now everyone's going to be like looking like, how can we get more guys like this into our program who have the character, who have their faith, who have the like discipline to come up, show up, get better every day and like follow our program. And I think which is way different because you kind of look at like some of the guys on Miami or like some of these other teams who have like these superstars who they're getting paid insane NIL money, insane opportunities to come to their school. It almost seems like you can like butt heads when you don't have like that same like mindset when you're like entering a team. And how do like I guess a question to go through that is like, is that a real thing that you guys see that's going to be like happening throughout like athletics? Are people going to be looking for that showy like flashy 5-star recruit who they can pay a lot of money, or are they going to be trying to find guys who can fit into their program still?
Yeah, I think that's something that coaching staffs nowadays really have to weigh. Tell you a quick story about when I transferred from Virginia to the University of Louisville. We brought in a top 5 portal class. There was about 25 of us, and we had a really, really good group of transfers. They were very mature. Everyone bought in. The culture was a fit. But I've heard stories of teams that they bring in 30 guys and the roster is overhauled, and some guys, or more about me, they don't have that character. They're looking at somebody else's car, or they're not performing as well as they thought. And so all these stories that happen pertaining to not getting the culture right. At the end of the day, it's not about how much money you're getting paid or how big of a star you are. Football is the ultimate team sport. And if you don't get the right guys in the locker room for that year, you're probably not going to have a great year. And to me, that's the beautiful thing about football. And the crazy thing about college football right now is each team is different year to year. I don't even know how it's legal for them to preseason rank some of these teams because these teams were just assembled 6 months earlier, and they're saying, "Okay, this team's number one in the nation." Like, how do you know that they have 40 new guys on the team? So
So crazy. It's honestly wild how much things are changing. Because I know that when you guys were in school, it wasn't the case like that. Maybe you get like a transfer or two, but you have your recruitment class, and it's the same thing. But it's just evolving so much. I guess a question that I have for you guys is something that probably a lot of the viewers are thinking right now, which is like, why do some athletes get opportunities quickly while others don't? Like, it's hard because you can like compare your stats. Like, well, I have the same, you know, all those same training metrics and I have the same grades. Like, why is this person getting like an NIL deal when I don't get one? So I guess like, can we boil this down into maybe some things which separate like those athletes who like get a plethora of opportunity versus those who don't, even though on paper they might look the same?
Yes, I mean, I would definitely say that there's a bunch of factors involved, and some of those might be, what what kind of connections that you've built and how you've built your brand and the connections that you have to other coaching staffs and who your coach might know. There's other factors like how your team did that season that might affect your view, how other players view your team and might perceive how you play as well. But I would also say that that's why you need a team of guys who've been there, who have those 20 years of college connections to those coaches. It's such a small industry, and a lot of coaches, they pretty much know each other, and so to know those guys and have an in and have got a team who have played with some of those coaches as well. A bunch of our teammates have gone on to be coaches as well, is huge in getting a player out there and getting them to build their brand and get their name out there in the media and to get them branded to their top potential and to their NIL potential as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love how you like a big myth that maybe some people have is like, I can do this all by myself. But in reality, it's getting more and more competitive. And the more of like a sound team and circle you can surround yourself with people who have connections, who have the experience, who can understand how to navigate like certain situations, that can just give you more leverage and more edges compared to everyone else who's trying to get recruited right now. Or if you're in school and like entering the transfer portal, it's so key to like surround yourself with guys who you trust in and they trust in you as well. Awesome. I think we can wrap that up for today, but is there anything else, like one piece of advice for families out there who are like kind of thinking about this, that you guys would give them as they either begin this process or in the middle of it and trying to navigate it? Anything you guys have to say?
Yeah, I would say we kind of get the question all the time, like why Triad, why get an NIL agent, and I would say it's similar thinking to getting a wealth expert, right? Like a wealth management firm on your side. It's you could probably do it yourself, but these people have spent their entire lives in this industry, right? For all three brothers of us, we've committed our lives to playing football at the highest level. We've gone through the transfer portal. We've seen what it means to be successful in it and get you the best deal possible. And so, for us, being able to be trusted advisors to these kids as they build their football career and ultimately try to make it to the NFL, like we did, is a dream come true for us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I, the only thing I'd add to that, John Paul, is if you're a coach or a parent watching this, one thing that we do that's different is we offer free education. So like a lot of schools around here in Dallas Fort Worth are having us come in and do an hour-long seminar on what NIL even stands for, what the transfer portal means, what revenue share is. So feel free to reach out to us. That we love to educate athletes, even if you guys go a different way, they go to a different agency, a different school. Um, just the fact that we're able to create a more educated parent pool and a more educated coaching pool, and ultimately a more educated player. That's what our mission is. It's not to become rich off this or make $1 million. We all have Ivy League degrees and other jobs, right? But we want to see college athletics change for the better, and we feel like this is the way to do it.
Awesome. On the frontier, making an impact. Thank you guys so much, John Paul, Michael, Jacob, for joining. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. These guys are the best of the best, and they also care about you guys. So with that, thank you for joining the Athlete Recruitment Code, and see you guys next time.